we think Trump announces his VP tonight?
You know, here's the thing. Trump said his VP is in attendance. He says, my VP pick is in attendance. That doesn't mean he picked a VP. So, like, let's say Tim Scott, Vivek, and J.D. Vance are all hanging out.
Right.
And he knows it's going to be one of the three. He goes, my pick is here.
I think they are all hanging out at the RNC, right?
You don't think Burgum has a chance, Tim?
I do, but I think it's the wrong choice. Absolute wrong choice.
Even though he has the most political success, probably, of all those, for those 4 people you just named, or 3 others?
I suppose the reason you'd go with Burgum is that you're trying to get older, run-of-the-mill people who are just like, I remember the 90s. Maybe boomers and silent generation who are going to vote. That makes sense. It does. But I'd still say that I don't think Tim. I think Tim Scott's bottom of the list. I like the guy, but I don't think it works. J.D. Vance, I would probably say, is probably the best right now, but not my first pick. Honestly, I'd pick Vivek, but I also know that Vivek probably doesn't play politically as well as Burgum does. So it is tough.
I don't like any of them.
I like J.D. Vance.
Yeah. I wish he had a better pick. I don't know who.
It might be Burgum. It really might be.
I just think it's going to be Burgum just because he's a billionaire. Trump respects that. I think he's the only of those 4 that's won.
And he can spend money.
Exactly. And he knows where to get the political donations. So
they don't need donations.
But still, I'm just saying he's connected. He knows the top of the top. If you're a governor of a state, that's a huge deal. So I just think that he would be the safe choice, too. I like Vivek, but Vivek also is probably more of a loose cannon or wild card compared to Burgum, and maybe he doesn't want that.
And it's not totally clear who Vivek's constituents are all the time. Like, he is really interesting. He's burst on the scene. A lot of people like him, but if you are elected by a state, you know the region at which you're representing. And with Doug Burgum, I do think it's interesting that, you know, he's sort of this Midwest. I mean, I don't think you actually count Dakotas as Midwest. I don't really know, but this sort of agricultural, he is a billionaire. There is something there that other candidates don't have. I also think I like J.D. Vance the best out of all the names that have been floated around. There are a lot of other options, but I think with Burgum, if you are this populist president, picking a governor is sort of an interesting move. Like, I've heard the argument, somebody came on the show and made the argument that, like, someone who, like, a senator is good because they would know how to use the Senate to best support whatever the administration's agenda is. But I think in terms of being like, I am a president for the people, governors are kind of more closely tied to the voting block, really. And so there is a symbolic nature. There is symbolism in picking Burgum.
You know, to be honest with you, now that you mention it, like when you bring up the Senate stuff, I do think that having someone that has at least a decent knowledge of the ins and outs of how the sausage is made, you know, I think that does matter, especially because he's going to want to actually have policy. Like, if he gets elected, there's going to be a lot of things that he's going to want to do. There's a lot of things that he's talked about doing. And if he's going to start, you know, cutting back on the establishment, cutting back on the bureaucracy and stuff, he's going to have to know how to do it, because it's not as easy as just fire that guy, fire that guy, fire that guy. As much as I wish it was, they're going to have to they might even have to get creative to get rid of stuff and have Congress be able to pass laws to cut off funding or whatever and see if they can just get, you know, things to dry up. But if you don't have someone that knows that and knows how to do it, you end up with what you got the first term, which is a lot of his policies and his ideas getting stymied by people that knew how the system worked better than he did.